This is Justin AMZN on Monday, December 3rd, 2018, and today we had a huge gap up from where we were, where we closed on Friday. So I'm just showing the full day so you can get a picture of what happened. So the close Friday was 16.90 and 70 cents, and then today we gapped up way above the 17.30 target that I had. So if anybody had been buying in here, they're profitable up here. People should be selling. It's good resistance, place that people were selling last time we were at this price range. And it's got a long lower wick, but jumping back into the 5-minute, I don't think that candle is quite right. I was watching the market around this time, and it was a really small candle, and then I glanced away at something else, came back within like a minute or two, and all of a sudden that had occurred. I'm like, there's no way it had a flash crash down here and then recovered. So I don't think that's a real wick. I don't know if that's something that's going to be corrected if it is incorrect, if it is wrong. But I mean, if it is a real wick, then that looks really, really strong. A lot of people buying after it was sold off. But yeah, the volume doesn't suggest that it's real either. So I think that's not a real wick. But anyway, if we take a look at where we were today, we stayed pretty well range bound from the pre-market area. This is where the majority of the day's action was, from the pre-market low to the pre-market high. And so that was the range to trade. It got a little bit below it here, which actually was nice. It had a high wave candle here, came almost into our 1747 price, and then bounced, and then came down, and then bounced, and came down, hammer here, some consolidation here, didn't quite get back up. At one point I thought that, let's see if I can draw it, maybe this was doing, there we go, this was doing some sort of lower highs, and this was doing some sort of higher lows, and then it broke down, and then it's like, oh good, it's retesting, it should roll over, and then it never rolled over. It came back up to this, kind of the apex here, and then rolled over, and then it came back up, and then it rolled over, and it's just like, okay, it's not doing anything. Very small range day after this big of a move, and you really just had to play the bounce from the pre-market low to the and then sell at the pre-market high. And had you done that successfully, there were some opportunities to do it with the option. So if we jump into the 1800 calls, so now at the open they were really, really high, and then they lost a bunch of value as it pulled back. The range on this one was $2, went from 11 down to 9, then back up. But buying in this range at this low actually could have worked. Let's see here, maybe 10 by 9 possibly. Here you would have had to been buying at 9 and getting out right at 11, and that it just would have been really hard to do that. But just like we were drawing on the daily, or on the 5-minute, here's a sketch on the option 5-minute. And so you had this downtrend. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to draw this as a channel and see how that looks. So we had a sideways channel we were staying inside of on the stock, but let's see if we have a downtrending channel. Sort of. Not as good. So it looks like we did a little bit more of consolidating here, like this. I'll draw it like that, and I'll draw this one like this again. So a little bit more, sorry, let me delete that. All right, a little bit more of a wedge shape today, but still a framework nonetheless that you could have traded by. It had to be really nimble to get in at just the right low and get out at just the right high, and not wait for it to set up something. And then a couple small candles up here, some upper wicks up here, that would have been a good signal to sell or to get into the puts. So if we jump over to the puts, there was a couple opportunities. This is the 1700 put, to buy near the low of the open price, so like 5, and ride that up to 7. That only happened once, maybe twice here, and then the rest of the day was much smaller until it took out that $5 low in here, or $5 range of the low. I guess it was 490. And then it took that out, and that's because um, it moved up a little bit higher after staying off of the highs. So we just, as we were, so let me drop back in here. So if we extend this, that was coming down to keep our highs suppressed, and then pretty much a flat bottom through here. And then it looks like that kind of broke out, and that's why the puts lost their value. And then the calls actually kind of rallied from there. So, but there wouldn't have been anything telling you, hey, buy again at 9 here after it came back through it, other than just looking at that price, saying, hey, that's worked a few times. 9 by 8 could work. 9 by 8 could work here to 11. 9 by 8 could work here to 11. It worked. But had you tried, having that set up here, didn't come down enough. I don't know if you would have been filled at 9. You wouldn't have known to look for the $9 price. So really a profit-taking day for the bulls. A day where we're kind of getting set up to do something else. I thought it was going to be a big fade day, and it faded a little bit, but not anywhere near the range that I expected it to on this kind of gap up. So the one thing is that does help things look good for being bullish. I mean, it has been really bullish. We're past the 1730 price, so we're beyond this range that we had, that kind of measured move, that expected measured move from here. That was tapering off around 1730. So we pushed a little bit past it. We could push up a little bit higher past this this candle. Maybe we get into 1815 again, and then expect a little bit more of a pullback. And if we can put in some kind of a neckline here, then this would look more of a well, right now it looks like a double bottom, but it could look a little bit more like inverted head and shoulders, especially if we had a bigger pullback, came down even to low 1600s. But let's see what we do up here. Again, with that lower wick that's not real. Let's see, today's candle stayed above 1747. So kind of ignore there. I'll cover it up with the cursor. Not really there. So the candle looked kind of like that with the cursor blocking. And that's a really, really small candle on this kind of a gap. I kind of expected more people to sell. It might just mean that more people were looking for it to continue higher. But you'd think there'd be some profitable people from Friday. More people would have sold. So we'll see what happens this week. The market is closed Wednesday because we lost one of our U.S. presidents back on Friday. George H.W. Bush, the 41st president of the United States, passed away. And so the market is closed on Wednesday in remembrance of him. And so I have abbreviated week. So we'll see if one day where the market's closed allows the rest of the markets around the world to have any sort of influence or things on that day. And then, we'll just see how this week plays out, coming off of some really strong bullish moves here. I would expect some consolidation or a bit of a pullback, probably into 1665 again is what I'd like to see. But I mean, we could get up to 1815 and then come back to 1665. But with some small candle, these last three candles here are really small candles. We haven't seen things like that probably since some of this up here, where we had this bullish move that was the last gasp. We couldn't get back up to the all-time high before the major sell-off. And we did get a little higher here. And then since then, we've had just larger candles. I mean, a couple small ones next to each other here, but on the way up, and then a lot of these on their way up were much smaller, a bunch of these in a row. I don't know that we're getting ready to do something like this yet. I think we need this to settle down a little bit first. This has been really strong. Let's see. from, what was it, 1420? Yeah, 1420 up to, where do we close? 1772. Let me see if I can grab the calculator real quick. Don't think my screen is sharing the calculator. So let me punch this in. 1772 divided by 1420. We've already moved up almost 25%. Actually, to the high today was 1778.34. 1420. That is a move of more than 25%. So, that's kind of crazy. Is from way up at the all-time high, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay. From way up here at the all-time high down to this low was around 30%. And then we've recovered 25% from that value. That's just how the numbers work out. So it's funny to say, but we have 5% more to recover off of this price to get 30% back, but 30% back doesn't get us up here. It gets us still a portion back down. So anyway, that's just the numbers. But we're at a really good resistance right here where there's a previous candle, highway candle. And so I would expect a bit of a pause in this area. Even if we break out and continue higher, I would expect it to come back and be in this no man's land a little bit longer, possibly all week, and then start to move a little more directionally. So we'll see how that works playing out this week. And hoping you enjoyed this video. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.